Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll put together 10 tips that are easy to implement and will definitely help you climb rank if you don't already do them. So let's get into it. First up we have Augments and Portal synergies. I don't see a lot of people talking about this, but the portal active for each game has a big impact on certain augments being strong. For example, the item payout portal gives you 2 gold for every item that you make, meaning that any augment that gives you additional components will also give you extra gold. Whenever you play a game with this portal active, try to look out for any augments such as Buried Treasures, Big Grab Bag or Caretaker's Favour, as this will allow you to make additional items to get the gold bonus from the portal. The same goes for portals that give you items too. Portals such as Loaded Carousels, Artifact Anvils, Scuttle Puddle and Component Anvils all mean that you'll be playing a game where you have more items than a normal game. This means that any augments that provide additional benefit from having items will now be much better than if a portal wasn't active. These are augments such as Cybernetic Bulk and Uplink or Binary Airdrop. When you're next in the game selecting an augment, make sure you keep in mind what region is active, as it will give you a slight advantage over others that don't. Tip number 2 is a composition strategy. The 2 most common strategies that get mentioned in videos and posts are either one-tricking or flexing. If you're not familiar with these terms, one-tricking simply means playing the same comp every game, and flexing means playing whatever comps the game is leaning towards. Both of these strategies are perfectly valid for climbing, with lots of players in Challenger that use one of them. However, I think for players looking to climb to something like Masters, both of these strategies have downsides which can hinder you climbing. That is why I like to find a balance between the 2, where I look to play 3 to 4 different comps, but all of which contain the same core units. Every set there is a group of units that allow you to do this, and in set 10 this is the superfan units of Lilia, Kennen, Gnar and Neeko. These units are the foundation of 3 or 4 strong comps in the meta right now, such as K8 Ari, Pentakill Karthus, Jazz MF, and Crowd Diver Katarina. What's great about this strategy is that it negates the downsides of one-tricking, whilst also not needing to have a knowledge of 10 plus comps in order to truly play flexibly. Tip number 3 is researching comps and stats. It probably seems boring to go through stats of comps, augments and items, but it will go a long way into helping understand what to look out for and what improvements you can make. There are lots of sites and apps you can choose from that provide the information in a single place. I personally use Meta TFT and have actually done an in-depth guide on it, which I'll provide a link to in the description if you want to check that out. Tip number 4 is building items, specifically when to build items. If you're Emerald or above, you should probably already know this one, but it's still good to drill it into your soul because I still see so many players do this even at higher ranks. Stop holding all of your components until you can make the best ones for the comp you're playing. Yes, they are the best, but if you actually look at the stats compared to other items that you can play there and then, they only make a tiny difference to the overall win rate of the comp, and the amount of damage you take by having a much weaker board is not worth it, and they will definitely lose your games. The general rule you should try to follow is to never have more than 3 components on your board. If you have more than 3, you should be making an item, even if it isn't the best item for your comp. There are of course some exceptions to this, but you're better off doing this to start with to get into a good habit, and then look out for times where you can make an exception, such as forcing a lose streak. Tip number 5 is about when to level, but before we do that I just want to say if you find these guides helpful, please consider liking and subscribing, as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and helping me know what type of videos you guys like to see. So with that out of the way, there is one particular tip I want to give around when deciding to level, which is specifically for 4-cost carry comps. With these comps you aim to get to level 8 as fast as possible, and what I see players do is get to 50 gold and then never go under 50 until they hit level 8. The problem with this is that you will most likely be much weaker than the rest of the lobby for the majority of the game, lose a lot of health, and then even when you stabilise your board at level 8, you'll be too far behind in health to get a top 4. A general rule I use is that if I can reach the next level and still have 30 gold left, then it's usually worth leveling. The reason for this is that you only lose out on 5 gold by doing this, 2 for the first round, 2 for the second, and then 1 in the next round. The benefits though are that you get to put an extra unit on your board, as well as increasing your odds of finding higher cost units, which outweighs the 5 gold you lose out on. Similar to all the general rules in this guide though, there are exceptions, but for the most part, if you implement this, you will see an improvement in your placements. Tip number 6 is to try to have at least one method of anti-heal and armor or magic shred in your composition. Anti-heal items or units can significantly reduce the effectiveness of opponent's sustain, giving you an edge in prolonged fights. Similarly, having access to magic or armor resistance shred, depending on the type of comp you have, will allow your damage dealers to be more effective against the front line. These items should be your next priority after itemizing your carry and can be slammed at any stage in the game. Tip number 7 is the simplest one, but it really helps during big rolldowns or transitioning to a different comp, and that is to use the Team Planner. This tool allows you to pre-select the units you aim to play with, and it will highlight them in the shop, making them easier to spot and buy. It's a small feature that can have a big impact on your gameplay efficiency, which is why even the highest ranked players use it. Tip number 8 is to build a mixture of tank items. Understanding the interplay between health, armor and magic resistance is crucial for maximizing your frontline's durability in TFT, especially when you're considering the concept of effective health. Effective health refers to the amount of raw damage a unit can take before dying, factoring their armor and MR. While armor and MR reduce the percentage of incoming damage, adding health increases the base amount of damage your units can absorb. This means that for each point of armor or MR added, the value of every health point increases, as it's effectively protected by these resistances. Similarly, adding health makes each point of armor or MR more valuable, because it takes a larger amount of damage to deplete the unit's health pool. For example, if a unit has 1000 health and 100 armor, it effectively has 2000 health against physical damage due to the armor's damage reduction. Increasing the unit's health by 500 to 1500 with the same 100 armor effectively makes the unit's health 3000 against physical damage, showcasing a significant improvement in durability. This illustrates the powerful synergy between stacking health and defensive stats. The effective health increases exponentially, not linearly, with the balanced addition of a health and resistances. To leverage this in-game, when itemizing your frontline, strive for a balanced mix that includes both items that give health and ones that give resistances. Tip number 9 is to learn when you're stable, or in other words, know when not to roll. This is a skill that separates the good players from the great. Stability means your current board is strong enough to win, or at least not to lose too much health against most of the lobby. It's tempting to roll for upgrades constantly, but understanding when to save your gold and when to spend it is key to maintaining a healthy economy and making strong pushes at the right time. Look for signs of stability like winning fights comfortably, having strong frontline, or possessing key units for your composition. And finally, tip number 10, study high-ranked players. This might seem obvious, but there's a lot to learn from watching the gameplay of those at the top of the ladder. Pay attention to their decision making, from the units they prioritize to how they manage their economy. Also notice their positioning and how they adapt to different opponents. Since TFT released the ability to spectate games, some of the websites have direct links which allow you to spectate, which is a great way to watch and analyze games. And that's it for this guide. I hope you found this helpful, and if you have any tips that you want to share, then put them in the comments below for others to see, and I'll pin the best one to the top.